Hello YouTubes, today I have a small DCC decoder installed to attempt. Well, when I say it's small, the patient is small. The job could be quite big. Not only is this tiny, but there's two motors in it for some reason. And just for a size comparison, here's your bog standard caboose. Yes, the caboose is bigger than this loco. This should be fun. So this is a Bachmann Spectrum GE 44-ton switcher, Great Northern, number 50. It is very nice, and I have been inside it already because we had a seized bearing or two to contend with. Let's just hope I can remember how we can get back into it so we can get this project done. So we have a light at the front. I know that's front because it's got an F there, just in case. Plus there's a little engineer facing that way. So that's the front. Not that it matters, it's pretty much symmetrical. Although I think he's missing a horn. And we've got a light at that side as well. So I think all we're really going to go for here is DCC control, forward and back direction, front and rear light. I don't want to drill into it for a beacon or anything. I don't think it needs it. Plus, I don't think we'll have space. So let's see if we can remember how we can get into this little thing. Now, there are two screws down here. Now, normally they would be holding a motor in. However, I know that the motors are actually there and there. You can see the worm gears. Still can't figure out why they decided to go with two motors instead of one motor in the middle, but hey, maybe there was a drive shaft space issue and it was easier just to do dual motors. That in itself gives us a slight issue because we have to wire our power to the motors in reverse from each other. That will make sense, I'm sure, when we get to it. Are you really going to make me take off the couplers for this? Oh, how frustrating. I need to remove at least one coupler. Let's go with this one for no particular reason. Shake all the bits out. So now it should come out front first and then the back. Quite a lot going on there. However, not a lot of space because most of the whatever is going on in there is metal, which is good because it adds a bit of weight. However, space-wise, we are going to struggle here. I'm actually thinking the only possible place to put a decoder here is on the roof of the cab, which isn't the end of the world. And let's face it, I don't think we've got any other options. There's nowhere else to put something in here. It's used every inch of space just for weight. Now we won't be using this, so I suppose we might be able to mount the decoder along there. Talking of which, let me dig out a decoder because I'm going to be using my Lays DCC decoders, which are tiny. Thank goodness. Okay, this is one of the decoders. So I think we could be lucky. It's narrow enough that it could fit there. If we remove this circuit board, which is all it's doing is controlling the light direction. But the light direction will be taken care of with the decoder. So I reckon if we remove this circuit board, we could mount this just in that recess there. And then the only problem we're going to have is hiding all the wires. So let's whip off that little circuit board. I will heat up my soldering iron. I have a feeling we're going to be using this a lot today. We'll set that at an appropriate temperature. Let's remove this little screw here, which I think is the only thing holding on this circuit board. Okay, so we've got our 4 wires coming up from the front and the rear pickups. So we can possibly reuse them. Yeah, I already had to do a little bit of work on the back one because that had come adrift. So I think all our pickups to the trucks are good. Yeah, I think that one was redone also. So as long as we're careful with these wires, we should be able to reuse them. I don't know, they're a wee bit short though. A wee bit short. Might have to extend them just a shade. Right, let me desolder these wires and I'll get this circuit board out of the way, shall we? I could possibly just snip these, but I want to retain as much of the wire as possible. We are free of circuit board, and yes, I think this will fit in there quite nicely. Perfect width, and with a bit of luck, we won't even see it at all through the window. Yeah, I think we're going to be good there. Now, motor. How does it get the power? Or motors? This is going to be the tricky part, to be honest. Because this is DC powered at the moment. It's picking up the power directly. Oh my goodness, what is it doing? I think these wires coming up are purely for the lights. So it must be picking up power directly from the wheels, left and right, and going straight into the motor. So we're going to have to take one of these out, have a good look, see how it's picking up the power. Because obviously we need to isolate that. Oh my goodness. Oh, can of worms. Right, let's see then. So it's got wipers. Where do the wipers go? Figuring it out, figuring it out. So it looks like the wiper goes on the inside of each of these wheels. Okay, inside there and there. There's a little tab that goes across, comes up here, and goes into one side of the motor there. Likewise, there's a little copper tab that goes from that wiper to this wiper and then extends up here to presumably the other side of the motor brush. So it looks like we're going to have to... Oh my goodness, we're going to have to cut the wiper here, I think. Take a feed from there to go into the decoder. This one's going to be even harder because there's virtually nothing. Okay, I'm going to have to completely strip this down. Oh, fun. Fun, fun, fun. Oh, we've got a wire detached by itself already. I may regret starting this project. I can say that about all the projects, but we get there eventually. So we have 4 of these screws holding the top of the motor together to the bottom of the motor. Let's whip them all out. To reveal our tiny little motor, or one of our tiny little motors. Okay, so there's the wiper. It comes up, well, it comes up from that side, goes over to this side, continues up this little strip here. It takes a feed from there up to the lights, which isn't necessary at the moment. Let's do that actually. I should have taken note of which way round that was. Now I'm going to have to test it with a battery. Look at how small this is. But it works well. Well, that's us isolated the motor. Okay, now then, this actually makes it easier. What we can do is calculate which way this spins and then which way it makes that turn. Put a red dot where the positive is going to be for the orange wire. Let's say the orange positive. There's already a red dot there. I wonder if that is why it's there. That could be handy. Because this one has got to be wired to the opposite of that one because they're facing each other. So they have to spin the same way. Therefore, one has... Where'd that come from? Oh, who knows? So one has to spin the opposite way from the other for it to not fight each other doing a push-pull thing. Okay, so what I was saying there was we can take... we can solder on one orange wire to there, grey wire to there for the decoder, the same in the other motor. And then for the pickups, instead of using these little things here, we can actually just snip that there, so we don't have this section going to the motor. The other side, you can see a tab going down there, hopefully, to the other side of the motor. You see that there? So we're not going to need that either. because that's coming directly from the right rail pickup. So we can just maybe take this out and snip it. If I can get in there to snip it, then that'll be fine, but I want to make sure we're not going to get any short circuiting. So, a little bit fiddly, but it should work. In theory. Right, snips. Actually, I'm just going to remove that wire. It's too short anyway. So that's that out the way. Let's snip this down so that we don't have any chance of it making contact with the motor. So that wee section there is going to be our left rail pickup. Way down there. Let's see, I don't really want to have to dismantle this all the way down. I don't even know how I would do that. I think these things are... Oh yeah, those things come off. Like so. But after that, I don't know. Don't actually see how that's... It doesn't matter. We've got access now. We can solder, let's see, right rail. So that will be the black wire to there. No, sorry. Red wire to there. Black wire to there. Same in the other one. And that will be our pickups done. I think. Now that I've removed this side panel, it actually makes it easier. So let me dig out some red and black wire. Quite fine red and black wire, because we don't have a lot of room in here. Oh, I nearly forgot to cut this little tab off. So let's see if we can get right in here. Snip that. Doesn't want to come out. Come on, you're no longer part of this. There he goes. That should be okay. Don't worry, that was nothing important. That was just my back scratcher. So actually it was quite important. I'm just going to bend that wee tab up a little bit. I don't think it will get in the way. You see it down there? Just don't want it touching anything it's not supposed to touch. Also, if I bend it up, it will hold the wiper in place, or the wee wiper plate that I'm going to be soldering a wire to. Okay, so I will be soldering a wire to there for the right rail, there for the left rail. So that's going to sit in like so. And it is the opposite of that one. So I know that that is the right, because that's the front there. That's the way it came off. Okay, let's get with some soldering then. Not keen on this being quite so flopping out there. So, you know what? I think I'm just going to snip that back. We don't need all that extra. Oh, right. Oh, tell you what, it's important to wear protective eyewear. That hit my glasses. I take my eye out. Right, I'm going to have to just scrape this a little bit, because we need to solder onto that, and it's got some protective coating on it. Lovely. Other side, it's already got a wee blob. Okay, so we're going to go with, instead of red wire, I'm going to use brown, partly so that you don't see it, and also because I couldn't find any red wire. So we're going to use brown. I'm not using any brown wires on the decoder, so I'm not going to get confused with another function. So we'll give ourselves plenty of wire here. So that'll be for the front. We'll cut another bit for the, sorry, the back. We'll cut another bit for the front. So we're ready to go with both. We'll tin this up and we'll get it attached to that little section there, shall we? I suppose it might help if I put some actual, oh, it's got solder, it's just a bit old. Okay, we don't need all that wire at the end, we'll just snip a bit off. This is single strand, which I'm not a huge fan of, but hey, it's what we've got. That's what we're going to have to use. Oh, we're out of shot. Oh, I need to clip it up there. Hold on a wee second. Don't want you to miss anything here. That's better. So I'm just going to put a little bit of flux on there, just to get the party started. And we'll get this brown wire for a right rail pickup, and I want to bring it straight up there. Let's not solder this to the wheel, that would be a problem. Really doesn't need a lot, especially next to all that plastic. You don't want to be messing with that. That seems okay. I'm not going to wiggle it too much. You should never have to move at that point. As long as there's enough flex at the top, it should be fine. Right, let's get the other side on. And the other side will be black. And I do have black wire, so we don't have to skimp. But I do want to get a little blob of solder on there before we try and attach a wire. So as before, we'll get a wee bit of flux on here. And a bit of solder. Just a blob. Possibly even just a blobette. That should do. We'll get a little bit of black wire. Trim it down just a shade. And we'll get that one attached to its blob. This needs a bit of a clean. Get some fresh solder on there. Shouldn't really need it, but hey, just in case. So that's our left and right pickups. So they attach to the wipers brush against the inside of both the wheels. So far so good. Next step then is the motor. And I am going to presume that the red dot means that that's the positive side of the motor. So I'm going to attach a little bit of orange wire to that and a little bit of grey wire to that one. Feed the grey wire up and everything should come up to the top together. Okay, let me find some orange wire. Oh, there's some right there. And some grey wire. Oh, there's some right there. We will add a bit to orange wire to the top, grey wire to the bottom. So we are going with orange here. Let's get a wee bit of solder on again. We don't have to go mad here. The blob, orange wire, a wee bit long. I just don't see the point in having all that extra wire here, just inviting short circuits. Just enough. So that's our orange wire, which will be orange coming from the decoder to feed the positive of the motor. Spin it round. Do the same, but this time it's going to be a bit of grey wire for the negative of the motor. Again, coming from the decoder. Like so. Now, with a bit of luck, we've got room to fit all of this. Let's see, do I need to put these side bits on first? I will anyway, just to make sure we've got room for everything. That's upside down, isn't it? Yes, of course it is. That clips on there. This one goes on this side. Motor should slot in there without any issues. Not picking up any power from anywhere that it shouldn't. Yeah, I think that's okay. Is that where it goes? Have I done something silly? It's hard to tell. Oh no. I think it goes there. Yes. Is that going to turn the wheels? Yes, that's turning the wheels. Goodness, I had to turn it a few times to make sure something was working. Right, we need to make sure nothing is touching things it shouldn't be touching. Grey wire looks okay down there. Brown wire or right rail pickup wire. So that's our 4 wires coming up the way. We will put the top plate back on, screw it down, and then add a battery to the positive and negative of the motor. Just to make sure we're going the right direction, okay? Okay, top plate, where are you? This one. Where are we going to feed all these wires? We'll probably feed up through the back. There is a slot at the back there, if that's the right way around. Let's compare it. It's quite handy having 2 motors. We can compare which way around it's supposed to go. So that is... yeah, that's the right way. Okay. So that needs to go... yeah, I think they're all going to fit. At least those 2 can fit. Yeah, okay. Don't mind me just talking out loud. 2 wires from the motor can come up the slot, okay? Nope. That one has to come around this way, or it'll get snagged. That one can come out there. Alternatively, I could feed it up through that little hole there. Would that benefit me though? That is a question. I don't think it would. Nah, I think we'll just go with that configuration. As messy as it... oh goodness, I just... stop ruining it. Right, let's get it screwed together. I'm wasting time here. Come on. Right, you see these cracks? That wasn't me, because I did not over tighten them. Previous owner. That kind of looks like it's sitting at a slope. Just kind of weird. Did I put this in the right way? Hold on. Oh, that one's at a slope as well. Look, you see it at a slight slope. That's bizarre. But hey, right, now we can hook up a battery to the grey and the orange just to see which way it spins, just because we need to make sure we do the same for the other motor. Right, 9-volt battery, see what happens. Okay, I've got my 9-volt battery here. I've just soldered the positive to hopefully the positive of the motor there. And then if we touch this black negative from the battery to the grey, bearing in mind this is the rear truck and that's the front, I kind of want it to go that way. And it's going backwards. Or it's trying to. Yep, so that red dot on the motor means nothing, although I reckon it's possible that we've actually previously put this on the wrong way around, because I think this goes on either way, so it doesn't really matter. So let's see, let's just double check that theory. Oh, I've got it stuck already. How do I manage that? Okay, so that slips in there. Seems fine. Let's try it around the other way and see if it does go either way. Yes, it does. So let's then make this one the front, which means it will go that way. Okay. So if that's the front there, that's the front. We want this to go that way now. And it is. Oh, okay, well that's now the front truck. So let me now do the same wiring job to this one with a slight difference, because I'm going to have to reverse the polarity of the motor. So instead of hooking up the orange to the red dot, presumably, on this one, we'll try hooking it up to the other side. With a bit of luck, we get it around the right way. See you in a bit. Well, that's my second truck wired up. Attach this negative to the motor negative. We want it to go that way. Wonderful. Okay, so they are both going that way. That's actually the hard part done. We can reassemble these back into the chassis and start on the easy stuff, wiring the decoder, and finding somewhere to put all these wires. Now, this mounts to that section there with a screw. However, I did check this in the body, and there really is not a lot of room at the sides. You see that there? So I kind of want all the wires to go up from that truck through that hole there, and the front truck through that hole there. So we don't have any snagging. So let's see, we'll put 2 in each side. We'll go with the left rail pickup and the grey wire. We'll feed that up through this side. Well, you know what I mean, they're all going through the same hole, but they're taking slightly different routes to get there. I don't want them hanging out the back, because I think it would get snagged there as well. So yeah, I thought the tricky bit was over, but this bit is also a wee bit tricky. Let's feed all these wires up through there. With a bit of luck, we can screw that down, pull them up a little bit tighter. And leave enough room for wiggling. Ugh. Thing is, it must have looked roughly like that before we added the extra wires. So let us just get a screw down there, screw that down, feed the wires up, and hope it works. Not too tight. That's too tight because it's not moving. Has to move, has to wibble wobble. So that's good. Right, brown and grey up here. Leave enough room for rotation. And black and orange coming up this side. It doesn't rotate a huge amount. It doesn't need to because it's got such a short wheelbase. It doesn't need a lot of wiggling, but that should be enough. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. Keep it nice and tight in there. Right, let me do the same with the front. There we go then. Look at all those wires. Doesn't that look intimidating? It's not actually that bad. Because it's 2 motors, we've just doubled up everything. So what we will be doing is connecting the orange to the orange, the grey to the grey, the brown to the brown, and the black to the black. So we've really only got 4 wires from this whole unit going into the decoder. Talking of which, let's get the decoder stuck down right there. I'm hoping some hot glue will just be all that we need to stick this decoder down. However, before I do that, I'm still a bit paranoid that we've got the motors the right way around. So what I'm going to do briefly, I'm just going to join these 2 orange wires together. And then join these 2 grey wires together. If we've got enough space, distance, you know. Probably would have helped if I had some solder on the gun. Iron. This thing. Purely for testing. Now run a battery and make sure all the wheels are going the same direction, eh? Okay, they are all going the same direction, thank goodness. That one is struggling a bit though. for some reason. That's okay, right. Proving my point, we're good to continue with the actual decoder install. So let's get rid of these apart for now. Hey, if nothing else, I've given myself time for the hot glue gun to, you know, get hot. So that's what's next. I'm not convinced that the hot glue will actually stick to the metal. I've not had a lot of success with it sticking to metal in the past, but we'll give it a shot. And then we will double up with a bit of tape. Yeah, I can feel that want to give already. So I'll just put a bit of black tape over the top. In fact, let's just get rid of the glue because it obviously wasn't doing anything. We're just creating more height. Of course, it sticks to the decoder fine. Right, we will just stick that down there. Bit of tape over the top. Bob's your auntie. That didn't go down as tight as I would like. There. That's what I was after. Right, decoder in place. Let's get all these wires connected. So, easy peasy, this bit. Let's do the motor wires first. So that is the orange and the black is going to the orange and the black of the decoder. So let's get all these other ones out of the way. Dig out our orange and black wire. And by orange and black, I mean orange and grey. Sorry, should maybe start that again. Right, all these ones out of the way for now. Don't need the long ones right this second. Just going to confuse things, so tuck them underneath. We have our orange and grey, which are going to go to our orange and grey coming from the motor. Right then, how are we going to do this? Let us connect the orange one first. We'll join those two together. And then we'll join that one there. Get some heat shrink, keep it all nice and safe. So we will cut that one there. Strip that back. Just tin that one up first. Join these two together. So that is one coming from the decoder and one coming from one of the trucks. Get them joined together for now. Get ourselves a little bit of heat shrink tubing. That's the ready. Put that over this side. We'll get them joined together. A wee bit on the long side. Let's get our little crocodile clip in the action again. It should be fine. Our first decoder wire connected. So that's going to the positive of both of the motors. Or at least it's going to the same directional wire of the motor, because remember, one of them is reversed. But just to keep things simple, I made them both orange. Okay, we will do the same with the grey. Not got a lot of room here. Should have used a longer wire. I thought I had used a longer wire, but obviously I did not. Anyway, I'm going to do the same procedure with that one. I can get it. Oh my goodness. So fiddlesome. Let's get this grey wire out of here. Oh, for goodness sake. He wants to be part of the orange gang. Right. That grey wire from the decoder is going to join onto that one there. And then it's going to go onto the grey at the front truck. Okay, I'll do that. Like so. That's our grey wires now attached to the grey of the decoder. Seal that up. Nice and cozy. Lovely. Okay, next up then will be our two brown wires together. Now, I did swap them round, remember, for the direction. So the brown is now the left rail pickup. The black is the right rail pickup. So the black is going to the red because that's just the way the cookie crumbled. So black is going to the red, brown is going to the... Sorry, brown is going to the black. Oh, for goodness sake. Yeah, I know I've confused everyone now, but hey, that's life. So, those three wires get connected together, and those three wires get connected together, and that will be DCC converted other than the lights. Easy peasy. Right, let me do that. It's exactly the same way as I did those ones. Our final electrical connection for the motor power part of the project. This is the, let's see, what's it going into black? This is the left rail pickup wire. Coming from both front and rear trucks. Bit of heat shrink tubing. I've already done the right rail pickup, in case you're wondering. And that is that part done, okay? That's all the power coming from the track up into the decoder, back out the decoder, and into the motor. So if you didn't want lights, then that's what your install would look like. However, I want to make sure it works. So let's get this monstrosity over to the track, make sure it works. Now, doesn't that look interesting? Right, flick it over to DCC, grab our cab controller, should be set to Loco 3 from factory, and forward. Or backwards, as the case may be, although I don't know which way round I've put it. Let's change direction. Doesn't really matter, we can just put the cab on the other way, right? Change direction. Oh, it's working. You know what? It's kind of bugging me that it's going the wrong way. So let's do that, and now it'll go the right way, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so forward should be that way. There he goes. I feel better about that now. Make sure it gives a full lap before we go back and start installing lights. What a strange little creature with its tentacles. It wasn't built for speed. I actually don't know what it was built for because it's not very heavy either. It will maybe haul about 3 coal wagons and that's about it, to be honest. But it will look good doing it. No issues there whatsoever. Yeah, let's slow you down. Do you crawl? Probably not. That would be asking for too much. It sort of crawls. Not too bad. Right, enough of that. Let's get back to the desk. Get some lights in this thing. For the lights, we only require 3 of these wires. We need the blue, which is a common positive. We need the white, which is the front light negative. We don't need the green. Cut that right down because we don't have space here. We don't need the purple. Cut that right down. But we do need the yellow, which is a negative for the rear light. Okay, how does that work? Because you're going to have like 4 wires if you've got a light front and back. Well, the common positive goes to the positive of both of the LEDs front and back, and the yellow and white act as kind of negative triggers. So this will need to get split between the 2 LEDs. Speaking of which, where are we going to put them? I'm hoping we can put them in these little notches here. Let me dig a couple out. These are the bulbs I want to use. Soft white LEDs with a resistor built in, which is the little bumpy bits, but it's whether or not, I don't think they can protrude further than this recess, like there. I think they have to be there, so I think we have to do a bit of bending work here. Let's see if we can bend this that way so that it sits in there, and then bend this that way, do a sort of S-shaped thing. Hopefully that will sit in like so. That should be okay, actually. Maybe get a bit away with a bit of tape over the top of that. Hold that in place roughly there. Before I do that, however, I want to put a little bit of heat shrink tubing over the lens just to stop any bleeding, light bleeding. Just a wee smidge. Every little helps. So that can go over like so. Like so. Get over like so. I'm trying to get you over like so. Come on. Should have probably done this before I bent the legs of it. That's probably okay there. So that's going to sit in there like that. Let's make sure it still works after all that bending. These, remember, are pre-resistored for 12 volt, so they're not going to be as bright as they will be with the actual light. That looks plenty good. But that still works. Let's take that down. But you see how much thicker this wire is, which is horrible, because we don't need it that thick. So it might be easier to cut this, connect it. Nah. Let's get it taped down. While I remember where it's going. Right, okay. I've got on with that. Take me butter jiff. We don't have a lot of room for it to attach the tape. We've only got this edge here though, so we do have to cut this precise. That looks fairly precise to me. Get that stuck there. Like so. And hopefully that's not going to protrude into my nose there. It's hard to tell. Do you see that little section there? That's actually the front light lens. And I'm hoping that my bulb stops here. If it stops there, we're in trouble. We can always move it back a little bit, but in fact, maybe we'll do that right now. Okay, that should be fine. We'll do the same with the back one, and then we'll be ready to do our final wiring with those 2 wires, those 2 wires, and those 3 wires. And we will indeed be done, and hope that everything fits under the shell. Okay, let me get the rear light stuck down, get these trimmed down, and we'll do our final wiring, okay? Right folks, we are on the home stretch. Only a few wires left to attach. Let us start with, this is the front, so we're going to attach the front headlight negative wire, which is the white. Make sure we get our heat shrink tubing Don't want to fail at the final hurdle, do we? So that one is going to go to the negative of the front LED. Apologies for my prehistoric PC, it sounds like it's about to take off. Front light negative, connected. Let's get that shrunk down, keep it nice and safe. Lovely. So while we're doing the negatives, let's get the yellow, which is the rear headlight negative, gets attached to the black negative wire of the rear LED over here. Heat shrink tubing, nearly forgot. Down there. A bit of flux, a wee bit more solder. I think we were getting a wee bit short there. That's our yellow wire, headlight, negative for the rear light. Okay, only a couple of connections left. Now, remember what I said about the blue wire being a common positive? So this is blue wire coming from the decoder, powers all the lights, at least on the positive side. So the front and the rear LEDs need to get joined together and then join the blue. So what I like to do is, because these wires are really fat, I join a thin wire to the thick wire, as in the blue wire to one of the thick red wires. Join that first. Join them together beside each other rather than end to end. Get our heat shrink tubing, our final slice of heat shrink tubing. And we'll put that over the single end because we want to slide this back over those two as well. We're almost there, almost there. This is a wee bit long, doesn't need to be that long. And we're going to join those two together and we will be actually done. I just hope the shell goes on over all of this. Put it this way, I couldn't have made it any tidier. So they're joined together. Common positive going to both the front and rear positives of the LEDs. Everything is now wired up. As I say, there's not really much else I could have done with all these wires. So hopefully there's enough room in the... Oh my goodness, let's find out. I'm going to add just one more bit of tape, try and prevent these stragglers from catching on the sides of the shell when we put it over the top. Okay. I couldn't really go any neater. Doesn't look too bad. Oh, it looks pretty horrific there, but hey. You're not going to see it when the shell's on. If the shell goes on. Okay, so we need to tuck it in this way first. Headlights popped out. Get you shoved back in there. That one's popped out as well. Oh my goodness. Tape's rubbish. Once it's in, it won't go anywhere, but hey. Wee bit of a squish. I think it needs to go down more at the front. I think they're actually okay. These didn't turn much anyway, to be fair. So let's get the screws in We can deal with the coupler later if it works, but I want the screws in, and then we will hopefully have a working DCC 44 tonner with lights. Lost my screwdriver. Oh, I can't be losing my screwdriver at this crucial stage. Oh, where did it go? Hang on a sec. Okay, found it. Let's finish this. Finish this job. Okay, that still turns. That still turns. I'm excited. Let's get to the track, see if we have succeeded in our quest. Not gonna lie, wee bit nervous about this one. It was a bit of a squeeze to get the body on. Okay, let's try it. So DCC power. Normally the front light comes on. Yes, we have a light. That's a good start. Forward. It never was the best runner, to be fair. It's not too bad. Maybe it needs running. Let's change direction. Hopefully the backlight will come on. Yay! Okay. They're fully lit. Let's go for a wee blast around the track, shall we? Full speed. Full speed isn't very full, to be honest. I did say it wasn't much of a speedster. Nope, it's faster than I thought. That engineer is having the time of his life. So there you go, folks. It is possible. Tiny switcher, 2 motors, 1 decoder. Job is a good one. So, not the worst install I've ever done. I've had much worse. Namely, a Southern Pacific Cato switcher. Absolute nightmare. And it's broken already. I need to repair some wires. So, this was a piece of cake compared to that. Anyway, I suppose we better do some sort of parade lap. It's really not very heavy. Maybe three ore cars and a caboose. And that's it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.